What's up, everybody? Welcome into your Thursday edition of Fantasy Football Office Hours. We are here to answer any and all start, sit, or other fantasy questions you may have for week 2. I'm your host, Simon, here with my co-host, Joey Wright. What's up, Joey?
Not a whole lot. I was just over on FanDuel playing a little Fantasy Jeopardy with Alfredo Brown, our guest on Office Hours today. His was it teammate? Would you say teammate or site mate? Whatever it is.
Yeah. Teammate, friend. I mean, we can call each other friends at this point. I feel like once you meet in person a few times, work together, talk every day. Yeah.
Guys, also joining us today, we have a special guest. We've got Dave Kluge, a football guy over at Football Guys. You can find him on Twitter at Dave Kluge. It's right there below his name, his face on the screen. Dave, thank you so much for joining us today, my man.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I will never say no to an invite for the Front Yard Fantasy crew. Anytime you guys invite me on, I will be here. Please don't take advantage of it, but no, I'm kidding. Seriously, whenever you want me, this is like my favorite channel to guest on. This and just keep inviting me back, and I'll keep coming.
Are you good for a 3-hour radio show tomorrow morning, Dave?
Tomorrow I'm taking the day off. My wife has been in Hawaii for the last 10 days, really rough working conditions. She had to go on a work trip, but no, I'm taking tomorrow off to spend the day with my wife because I haven't seen her in 10 days.
Well, it's done at 8 a.m. So I'm sure 8 a.m. your time. So I'm sure she can even sleep in after such a taxing work trip after that. So I'll message you after, Dave. We can make it work. We got Craig in here with the Grimace Gang emojis. Yeah. Grimace Gang representing for the Q&A today. Pangs Picks Davis is ready in the chat. And he says, it's 3:00. What do I do? Just be patient. Just be a little bit patient, Pang. We are right here. Because we're here to answer questions. So let's get into it. We're going to do this for about an hour, guys, or until we run out of questions. Bam in here wants to know if I have Zeke and Pollard and I was offered Cordero Patterson and Marvin Jones for Pollard and Robbie Anderson, should I accept? So Cordero Patterson and Marvin Jones for Pollard and Robbie Anderson. Dave, which side of this are you leaning? Is it format dependent or is this a slam dunk one way or the other?
I don't know if it's a slam dunk one way or the other, but we got to stop betting against Cordero Patterson. I mean, we did it last year and he had himself a very, very good season and tweaked his ankle and wasn't really the same after that, but it seems like those injuries are behind him. He looked great last week. There were only 2 guys that had more touches last week than Cordero Patterson, and it was Jonathan Taylor and Joe Mixon. I mean, we're looking at an insane workload for this guy, and concerns about the age and whether he gets hurt again, but we got to start looking at him as an RB2. I mean, Pollard, the hopes with Pollard were that he was going to get some opportunities out of the slot. He hardly ran any routes. He finished the game with 2 targets. I mean, I think that he is just, I don't think he has any standalone value. I mean, he got that handcuff with Zeke, which is nice, and I understand wanting to keep that, but I think that what you're looking at with Patterson is such a higher ceiling than what you're going to get with Pollard.
Joey, do you agree with Dave here?
I do. For me, Cordero Patterson's the only player I'm really it's between him and Pollard. The receivers don't do much for me to sweeten the trade or not. So I would rather have Cordero Patterson than Tony Pollard this season. So
yeah, I mean, I was shocked all offseason how late Cordero Patterson was going. Like with what they invested at the running back position. I know they drafted Algier, but it wasn't like a super high draft capital pick. Patterson killed it for them last season, and he was going in like the 9th round of drafts in PPR leagues. What he did on the ground last week, on the ground, know what I mean? Most of the damage he did last year was through the air. 22 carries, like you said, Dave, absolutely insane. Not expecting that workload to continue, but if the Falcons are willing to feature him as a back on the ground like that, and they can maybe ramp him up in the receiving game a little bit more like we saw last season, dude, he could just do it again. He could be the person where 2 years in a row, people are like, what the hell? How did Cordero Patterson end as a top 12 running back? Like, we could see that one more time this year. So, Bam, it looks like everyone's on the Patterson Marvin Jones side. So maybe do this trade right there. Carlos had a question for us. Says, let's get into it. I spent 12% of my fab on Hilliard. Should I continue to believe in his goal line carries and maybe more, or do we see him fade into King Henry's shadow? Joey, where do you stand on this one? Is Hilliard the real deal? Is he going to keep getting those goal line carries?
I don't think so. It's nice to think about they might take some of the workload away from Henry, but I don't see Hilliard being the goal line back for the Titans. So no.
Dave, what about you?
I'm trying to get Hilliard where I can, and I don't think that he is going to have a lot of standalone value. I think last week was a little bit fluky. He saw a ton of work in the receiving game, and I don't think that's going to continue. But I think we're looking at the end of the road for Derrick Henry, as much as it pains me to say that. I mean, one of the most dominant running backs that we have ever seen when he's been in his prime. But for the last 2 years now. We have seen him dipping in yards over expectation. We've seen his yards after contact per attempt go down. We've seen his broken tackle rate go down, and those efficiency metrics in week 1 last year, when you're thinking that, being fully healthy and not having the wear and tear of a season, we were hoping that he'd be able to bounce back a little bit last week. And he did not look efficient last week either. So my fear is just that we are looking at the end of the road for Derrick Henry. I don't know if it's going to be injuries or if they're just going to slowly start to, lessen his workload a little bit. But I'm trying to get Hilliard here because I think that he could have some standalone value. And if Henry picks up another injury, then all of a sudden we're looking at a guy who's going to get fed like he was last year when Derrick Henry was out.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not forcing Hilliard into any lineups, but he's a guy that I love having on my bench. Wait and see what happens. Wait and see if this is the end of the road for Henry right there. Mr. Pang, you get to skip the line with that $3 on your question. Thank you so much, Davis. We appreciate it. Pang wants to know Mike Williams or Christian Kirk this week. It's Mike Williams for me, and it's Mike Williams by a lot. Last time I checked, this over-under was set at 53.5 points. They're expecting this to be a high-scoring game. Keenan Allen is out. Mike Williams ran the most routes on that team last week. He just didn't turn it into fantasy production. He's going to get going. He's going to get going, and tonight is the perfect night for that to happen. Start Mike Williams with full confidence is what I'm saying here. Dave, how do you feel about this one?
I don't know if I'm going to say start him with full confidence, but compared to Christian Kirk, I am definitely starting him. But it seems like, I'm not feeling extremely confident about Mike Williams, but I do have him firmly ahead of Christian Kirk this week, just due to the potential upside of him being a target hog without Keenan Allen being there. But, you never really feel that great starting Mike Williams, especially on a Thursday night game.
That's true. He's known for his disappearing acts. Last week wasn't out of character for Mike Williams for what we've seen from him. Joey, are you going Mike Williams or Christian Kirk?
Yeah, I've got Mike Williams as a top 12 running back this week. I'm a wide receiver. He's not going to play running back. Guys, if Mike Williams plays running back and wide receiver, watch out. I've got Mike Williams at wide receiver 10. I think last week is an outlier for him, and he's going to actually show up this week, especially without Keenan Allen there.
I see Dave in the chat. Dave, I think this one's from you for you. Allen Lazard or Allen Robinson? Where are you going this week? They both really showed up last week after all that offseason hype. Both of these guys really showed out, helped you win your week 1. What are you doing with them in week 2?
Is this where I take my victory lap for hyping these guys up all offseason, right? Actually, believe it or not, though, I actually am going Lazard between these two. I mean, I like them. I got them both as top 24 receivers this week, and I give the slight edge to Lazard. But if you guys want to help me out with this is an actual question that I'm dealing with in one of my leagues right now.
Joey, I have a feeling your answer is going to be the other way, right? You're going to be on the Robinson side of this one?
I love Allen Lazard. I was so sad to not see him play last week because I was beating the drum, not as loud as Dave was all offseason for him. But I am going to go with Robinson. I do not believe that what we saw last week is what Allen Robinson is. I think he's going to have a really good week this week. I have him at wide receiver 18, which is a little high, but I do believe in his talent. I did all off season. So 1 week, I'm not going to let deter me.
Yeah, that comment was for the chat, but I appreciate you pulling it up, Simon.
I thought
it was too funny with those two players in there. I'm going Lazard. I think I'm going Lazard this week. Okay. If Lazard is playing, I think I'm going to start Lazard. We got Greek Freak in here, wants to know Justin Fields or Carson Wentz, PPR. So this is an interesting question. Joey, which way are you going on this one? Carson Wentz, the week 1 superstar versus Justin Fields, who did something in the rain.
Please don't make me say Carson Wentz on where it's actually recorded and it can go back and be traced to me. But yeah, I picked Carson Wentz up in a couple leagues this last week that I had Dak Prescott in because I had to pick someone up. And it hurt with every fiber of my being to pick him up, but I think he's going to have a good week. And they're playing the Lions, and we saw what the Eagles did to the Lions last week, and I think it might be a very similar game this week. So yeah, I like Wentz.
Yeah. Wentz playing the Lions, Fields playing Green Bay. Which way are you going, Dave?
In my completely unbiased opinion, I'm going to go with Justin Fields here. But really, and again, I try not to let my bias bleed into my analysis at all, but I think Justin Fields is the play here. Carson Wentz, I don't think that he's going to be able to maintain the efficiency that we saw last week. I think that looking at them having this, just deep depth of talent, I think it might be a little bit fool's gold. I don't know if Terry McLaurin's really going to be the wide receiver 3 there. Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuel, they look great, but I don't know if that's going to maintain. And for me, it's just the rushing upside. We saw it last week, even playing in a monsoon, just a very unique and weird game to be a part of. we saw exactly what we wanted to see from Justin Fields, and that was athleticism that was able to extend plays. So I think that, they're going to be playing from behind often. It's going to force his hand to throw the ball. He's got the legs and the athleticism to extend those plays. I think that we see a decent floor from Justin Fields every single week.
This one's so close for me. But I feel like, Dave, what you're saying, I saw enough from the offensive game plan and how they were using Justin Fields last week, different from what we saw from this Bears last season, right? We saw Justin Fields getting out a little bit more, out of the pocket. Like, I'm excited for this Bears offense. Now, that not in the same way I'm excited for the Chiefs offense or the Chargers offense, just compared to what we saw last year. I think I'm going Fields on this one as well, but these guys are super close this week. And if you're buying into this being one of the best receiving corps in the NFL with the Commanders, Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, then by all means start Carson Wentz over there.
I hope you guys are right and that Wentz just falls on his face this week. But
we got Damon here saying, "Hi, gents, and superstar Dave Kluge on the show today."
I really hope that sticks. I just want to say,
I'm a QT poet. Says, "Hey guys, who should I flex this week between Jacobs and Henderson?" So Henderson unexpectedly maybe getting that that lead dog role in the Rams offense. Which way are you going on this one, Dave?
Smashing Henderson and not even thinking twice. I mean, we saw it last year in the first half of the season. Darrell Henderson was the workhorse and he was putting up RB1 numbers, and that's exactly what's happening right now. There's kind of this misconception that Sean McVay runs a committee backfield, but that's not really what it is. He runs this hot hand field. Or this hot hand backfield. And right now, Darrell Henderson has a hot hand. I don't know if Cam Akers is in the doghouse or what it is, but until we see that change happen, you got to keep firing up Darrell Henderson as back end RB1.
Joe, you agree?
I think it's the first time we agree today. This is great. Unanimous. Let's go.
How cute.
Simon not going to agree?
Oh, no, I'm going Henderson as well on that one. Swamp in here says, so Brady does not have the best history going against the Saints. Some narrative, some Tom Brady Saints narrative. How many QBs do y'all have over Brady for week 2? Dave, where does Tom Brady fall for you as a quarterback in week 2?
That is a good question, and I'm pulling up my rankings right now. I'm not overly concerned to what we saw last week. Not the best game from Brady, but I think that he's going to be just fine. I have him slotted in as my QB9. So the only guys that I have ahead of Tom Brady are Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen. I'm not overly concerned. I'm starting him over Carr, starting him over Cousins, Stafford, Rodgers, Lance, Wentz. Yeah, so QB9 for me.
That's right about where my line is. I think the only name that you said that I would start over him is Stafford. I'd be willing to throw Stafford in there over Tom Brady, but he's a back-end QB1 for me this week. So if you drafted him, you're probably starting him. Joey, what about you?
I was just looking, because I was listening to the names and I was saying, okay, well, who does Dave have over him that I don't? And it was Stafford. I've got Brady at QB10. So I'm in full agreement basically with when it's that close, when they're back-to-back, So.
Flip a coin.
Yeah.
Brendan has a question for us, wants to know, what do you think of giving Chubb and Sutton for Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Jalen Waddle? So trading Nick Chubb and Cortland Sutton for Helaire and Waddle. That's a no from both of you guys.
Yeah, keep Chubb and Sutton.
Not even in Dynasty, I don't think.
No, it's too big of a downgrade from Chubb to Helaire. Like, the touchdowns that he got in week 1 did not look like sticky touchdowns. Know what I mean? They didn't look like touchdowns where he's going to continue to get those week in, week out. What's up, Joey?
If he is in a point per cool touchdown dance, the league, like definitely the Waddle side will run away with this. So,
without a doubt, we've got.
I thought it was a good joke. You got to laugh out of me, Joey. I'm sorry, Simon didn't like it.
Simon's just used to my humor by now. Thank you, honey. My wife just brought me some coffee.
Thank you, honey. Thanks, honey. Joey needs his coffee. Ahan in here says, half PPR league. I have Saquon, Swift, Diggs, and Lazard. Need to pick one for my flex. Would love Dave's opinion on this. Thank you. Dave, this one's targeted right at you. Where are you going?
So I'm obviously this is a Alan Lazard joke, but I'm going Saquon here, and I think that there is a good discussion to be had with Saquon and DeAndre Swift. And I just talked about this a few days ago with Matt Kelly on the Mind of Mansion. We had a discussion: who finishes with more points, Saquon Barkley or DeAndre Swift? And I at first I thought that's a really good question, and then I looked at it, and there was only I'll just ask you guys real quickly: who do you think led the league in red zone carries last week? Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams. Yes.
Okay.
So what we're looking at with Saquon Barkley and DeAndre Swift, they're both guys that get a lot of points through the air, but I think that, Saquon Barkley still gets the goal line touches. So Saquon Barkley right now, I don't know where I have him exactly rest of season, but he is a top 3. I don't know if he's number 1, number 2, or number 3, but he's up there with Jonathan Taylor and Christian McCaffrey ROS.
Can I ask you where you have Saquon this week, Dave?
RB3, right behind
Okay.
Jonathan Taylor and Christian McCaffrey.
Okay.
Joey, I know where you have them, so
I
I'm
got
guessing I know
bold.
where you're going on this one.
Yeah, I got pulled. So yeah, I got Saquon as my number 1 running back this week. I love him.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Saquon is back, baby.
Yeah.
Shout out to our friend Charlie in here. Is that the British pound symbol down there? We're going international, baby.
Whoa.
We got toonies flying in, British pounds and dollars. Look at that. We're stamping the FYF passport with that one. Charlie wants to know Hunt or Henry this week. I'm guessing this is Kareem Hunt versus Derrick Henry. If it's a running back question, I know we just talked about maybe the decline of Derrick Henry, and I know Kareem Hunt had the 2 touchdowns in week 1. But you have to start Derrick Henry in my mind. You can't get this cute with a lineup. Henry is the workhorse back for his team. Dave, you agree?
Yeah, unless this question is asking about a flex position and we're talking Hunter Henry, Henry is the answer here.
Yeah. Joey, what about you?
Oh, it's Henry. Definite. Yeah.
Double Henry on this one. And then Charlie had one more question for us. Wants to know DJ Moore or Drake London this week. Dave, are you going to start DJ Moore or rookie Drake London after a good week 1?
DJ Moore very easily, and Drake London look great, but DJ Moore is he's a stud, and you don't overthink it. You always start your studs. You drafted DJ Moore in the 3rd or 4th round as probably a top 15 guy off the board. You're going with DJ Moore here.
Joey, you agree? Full DJ
Yep.
Moore.
DJ
All
Moore.
3 on the DJ Moore side. Swamp, what's up, Swamp? Welcome in. And Swamp said he wasn't at work. I think that's the first time in over a year during one of our streams.
Awesome.
Swamp hasn't been at work. He said pick 3 to flex. Patterson, Williams. So we're talking Cordero Patterson, Javonte Williams, DK Metcalf, Ramondre Stevenson, Treylon Burks, or Jacoby Myers. Joey, which of these 3 are you starting?
It's the first 3 for me. Patterson, Javonte, and DK Metcalf.
Patterson, Javonte, DK Metcalf.
We clicked it at the same time. I booted Dave as you brought him in.
Dave, are you agreeing with Joey on this one? Are those the 3 you would start out of Cordero Patterson, Javonte Williams, DK Metcalf, Ramondre Stevenson, Treylon Burks, and Jacoby Myers?
Yeah, I'm not overthinking this one too much. DK Metcalf didn't have the best week 1, but ran a lot of routes, pulled 7 targets. I'm starting him over the rest of the guys, and I think that Patterson and Javonte are the smashes here.
Yeah, you got full agreement from me on this one. I like it a little bit better when we disagree a little bit, but this one seems like a slam dunk for those 3 plays this week. Dame in here. Dame Overlord wants to know half PPR. CEH tonight over Monty at Green Bay, Jacobs versus Arizona, or Melvin Gordon versus Houston, right? So would you be starting Clyde Edwards-Helaire over David Montgomery, Josh Jacobs, and Melvin Gordon? Joey, what's your answer here? Where are you going?
I have Monty 1 spot ahead of CEH. I'm just looking at my rankings now. So I would start Monty over CEH.
Monty over CEH. Dave, are you agreeing with Joey there?
That's where I am too. I got David Montgomery out of this, and I think that he saw a decent amount of work in the passing game, and I think that they are going to be playing from behind often. We were expecting kind of a 50-50 split with Monty and Khalil Herbert, but it skewed much heavier to David Montgomery than a lot of people expected. So I'm going with Monty here.
One of my biggest flaws is if something's close and one of the players is in Thursday night, I just want to force them into my lineup just every time. Like if it's close and I have to make that decision. I like every fiber of my being says, no, get the points with CEH tonight. You want something in the game, but I think you guys are right. Monty is my highest rated player for this week, but it's so close that if this was my team, I really might just shove CEH in there in a expected to be high scoring Thursday night game.
Yeah.
I'll just say I do that all the time too. And when does it ever work out for you?
Never.
Like I always I'm just gonna get the points tonight. Let's throw a little skin on this Thursday night game, and they almost always put up 0.8 points. I mean,
and then it's like what
out.
points? Yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm gonna get the points tonight, and you leave with still less than 1 point. Lucia's had a question in here for us. A kind of hard one. We love hard ones. Says need 1 flex and 1 wide receiver. We're not on FanDuel anymore. We can say that over on our channel.
Oh boy.
He said need 1 flex and need 1 wide receiver for half PPR. CEH, Ayuk, Marquise Brown, J-Rob, or Juju. Dave, which of these 2 players, one of them has to be a wide receiver, are you starting tonight?
I think I'm going Ayuk and Marquise Brown here. I think Marquise Brown is the for sure thing. You're starting him without a doubt. Didn't have the best week 1, but you still got to, fire up Marquise Brown as a top 15 wide receiver. Ayuk is what I'm leaning to ever so slightly, but I kind of do like J-Rob here. I mean, he looked like he was back and healthy. I'm a little bit concerned that he's going to get those low calorie touches and that Travis Etienne's going to get the goal line work and passing down work. But if you can chalk J-Rob in for, 15 touches a week, that's a pretty solid floor that you're getting from him. So Marquise Brown for sure. And then it's a really, really close one between Ayuk and J-Rob. I'm going to lean ever so slightly for Ayuk though.
For me, it's Juju for sure, and then Marquise Brown as the next option for me. I've got a lot of confidence in Juju being that guy in this offense, being the most heavily targeted wide receiver. Besides Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who was playing like very clearly that role as a field stretcher last week, Juju was the wide receiver that was on the field the most often, and I think that's only going to continue to go up. I like Juju in this matchup tonight, but then I fully agree with you. It's Marquise Brown for me, and then I'm not too tempted by the other options. Joey, which two players are you starting?
Yeah, it's Marquise Brown without a doubt. Consensus, and I'm with Simon on Juju. I do like Juju, especially he's playing tonight. Yeah,
ignore what I just said about wanting to force Thursday night players into my roster, because I'm assuming that's taken out of this. I think I eliminated that bias from this decision right there. Football fan 28 in here says pick 2 full PPR: Sutton, Mike Williams, Dillon, or St. Brown. Says his only favorites, he's got Herbert and Everett tonight. Do I want a 3-team stack, 3 players on the same team on a Thursday night? Dave, you already talked about how Thursday night games are sometimes a lot weirder than we expect. They're not all, what was that game a couple years ago? Chiefs Rams, right? Wasn't that the crazy one? They're not all like that.
It's my favorite Monday night game of all time.
We could get a weird like 20-13 game that we're not expecting. Or are you rolling out all those Chargers?
I don't think so. I'm going Sutton here is my favorite out of the bunch. So I'm starting him for sure. And then these next 3 are really, really close for me. Mike Williams, AJ Dillon, and St. Brown. But I'm gonna go with AJ Dillon. He outtouched Aaron Jones last week, and I'm not freaking out about Aaron Jones by any means, but it wouldn't surprise me one bit if the season comes to an end and if AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones both stay healthy throughout the entire year, that both of them finish as RB1s. Love the usage that both of these guys are seeing. So I'm gonna go with Courtland Sutton and AJ Dillon here. But
God, I can't wait.
They're all good options. I don't think you can really go wrong. These are tight.
No.
Next week, I swear I won't answer that the Thursday night player is the guy you should start as much, because we got Browns Steelers next week. You know what I mean? We got the Jacoby Brissett led Browns. I'm not going to be forcing any of those guys in there, but I like Mike Williams. It's Sutton and Mike Williams for me in this one. Joey, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going to go Sutton and Williams. I really do like Everett this week, though. He is my tight end 9.
Yeah, I'm in on Everett, especially with Keenan Allen out of that
tight end
lineup.
8 here.
Ooh, we got fight. Find who the one person is and then fight about him. Bam in here has a question for us. Says, is DJ Chark someone I should flex over the likes of Rex Burkhead, Zach Moss, KJ Hamler, and Paris Campbell in a 3-flex league? My current flexes are Hollywood, Patterson, and Chark. Yep, leave Chark in there over all those guys for me. Rex Burkhead's the one that's closest in my mind, but I'm still going Chark. Dave, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going Chark too, and these are fun. I like these deep league questions. I'm going Chark here.
Joey, where do you stand on this? Chark?
Do. Yep, DJ Chark.
We got the triple Chark. Albert wants to know Cooks or Juju, full PPR. So Brandon Cooks or Juju. Joey, where are you going on this one?
I'm going to go Brandon Cooks. I do like Juju this week, but man, Brandon Cooks, yeah, that's where it's at.
Looks like
I promise I'm not
Dave.
a Juju. I'm not a Juju hater, but you guys just keep asking me, start set questions with guys that I really like, and I really like Brandon Cooks. So I'm going Cooks here.
And I know I said I like to start Thursday night players, and then I said I was going to try to avoid that, but it's Juju Smith-Schuster for me here. But they're very close. They're within 2 spots of each other in my weekly rankings. I'm putting Juju Smith-Schuster out there though. Mr. Scampers, our favorite chat cat, says half PPR need 1: Allen Robinson or Henderson. So Allen Robinson, Henderson,
or
Gabe Davis, and with Mike Evans baked up, would you start another of those guys over him? So are you going Allen Robinson, Henderson, and Gabe Davis versus Tennessee?
I mean, I might just be crazy bullish on Darrell Henderson, but that's not even much of a question for me. I mean, I got Henderson way ahead of both of these other guys. I'm starting him pretty easily.
Joey, what about you?
Yeah, I'm probably going to go Gabe Davis, even though I don't like Gabe Davis. But as far as the Mike Evans side of the question, I believe you will have the luxury to wait on if you're going to start Evans or somebody over Evans. So you'll get to know that up to game time. I need to look at the time of that game, but yeah, so it's not like Evans is playing tonight and you got to make that decision. So yeah.
Craig in here wants to know Joshua Palmer or Dameon Pierce, PPR. Dave, are you going with Dameon Pierce who we thought was going to be the starting running back for the Houston Texans, or Joshua Palmer in tonight's game.
I'm going Palmer. I was fading Pierce pretty hard this offseason. Not trying to get too excited and overreact to week one, but I mean, if you're getting outplayed and outsnapped and outtouched by Rex Burkhead, probably not going to be a thing. So I'm going to go with Josh Palmer here playing that Keenan Allen role.
Josh Palmer. Joey, what about you?
So I don't know what's wrong with the chat because they're making me say things I don't want to say. And I love Dameon Pierce because I'm a Florida Gator fan, but I am starting Joshua Palmer over to Pierce. And it hurts for me to say that.
It's a triple Joshua Palmer right here. Rock TV, speaking of sexy Rexy, we've got a Rex Burkhead versus Bateman in PPR. Are you rolling out Rex Burkhead after what we saw from him last week, or Rashad Bateman? Joey?
I'm going to roll with Bateman because Dameon Pierce is the RB1.
I'm going Bateman as well. He's
Bateman
the wide
easily.
receiver 1 in Baltimore. Yeah, Dave, you agree?
Yeah, no question.
Easy peasy. Braden in here says, with Kittle possibly being out again, do I start Logan Thomas or Robert Tonyan? Dave, is it going to be Robert Tonyan or Logan Thomas for you?
I'm going with Logan Thomas. I mean, talk about recency bias plaguing fantasy football managers all the time. We forget that this guy is just a couple years removed from a tight end 5 season. And he drew 7 targets last week. Robert Tonyan probably has a better chance of stumbling into the end zone, but I think if you're looking for floor here, which is what I want with my tight ends, I'm going with Logan Thomas.
Yeah, and to that note, he only played 62% of snaps last week as well, which for some players would be celebrating that, right? But for Logan Thomas, anything less than 100% is almost like a game where the Commanders didn't use him the way they wanted to. Like when he's fully healthy, they want him on the field for every single snap. So I expect that usage to even go up a little bit further. Like I think this level of target share is sustainable for someone like Logan Thomas. I'm plugging him in. And that's not an anti-Tonyan take. It's just a pro-Thomas take. Joey, are you going Thomas or Tonyan?
I'm going Thomas. I know I love the Bob Tonyan last week, but I'm not getting too cute. But they're only like 2 spots apart in my rankings. So
we have a real question from Ahan this time. He said, you get to pick up only one, Jordan Mason, Tyrion Davis-Price, or Jeff Wilson. Which one are you picking? Dave, the 49ers backfield, it's a bit of a mystery right now. Jeff Wilson expected to be the guy. But which one of these are you picking up if you can only pick up one?
I mean, anytime we're talking about the 49ers, it's going to be a little bit of a mystery. But for me, it's pretty easily Jeff Wilson Jr. here. Let me just drop this really quickly. Since 2018, Jeff Wilson has started in 8 games where he finished. He had 1 game where he was knocked out with a shoulder injury in the first quarter. But in those 8 games, 18.6 carries, 90.3 rushing yards, 2.5 targets, 9.5 receiving yards, and a touchdown per game, coming out to 17.6 PPR points per week. So I think it's pretty easy here. You got to go with Jeff Wilson Jr. Maybe we pivot after this week, but Kyle Shanahan likes his guy, and all indications show that Jeff Wilson Jr. is going to be the guy.
If this is like just a at cost question, it changes my answer. But if this is a who do you want most on your team, it's Jeff Wilson. I agree with you, Dave. Joey, what about you?
100% Wilson. I was kicking myself over not having Wilson on a lot of benches because there was a lot of chatter out of San Francisco about Jeff Wilson that with, if you're going to have a second back from the San Francisco backfield, it would be Jeff Wilson. So, but I mean, in a way it's kind of league dependent too, because a lot of the Debbie guys are really in on Jordan Mason. But I'm still going Jeff Wilson.
I don't mind picking up TDP for free.
I'll say, yeah, that too. The thing I'll say about Jeff Wilson though is he was the number 2 guy last year coming off of a brutal injury. Like even when he wasn't playing at 100%, Kyle Shanahan still trusted him to be the guy. So, we get I'm going Jeff Wilson here pretty easily. Kyle Shanahan loves him.
Mm-hmm.
I will say with the TDP, this is not me expecting him to become that starting running back, but it would not be the most absurd thing for him to come from being a healthy scratch to having a role in this offense. Like he wasn't a healthy scratch necessarily because he was the 3rd best running back on this team because he was buried on the depth chart. It could have been a role thing. Like he fills a role that someone else on that team already filled. Maybe he was expected to be the special teams guy, but they didn't have him up there because they already had someone doing that. So TDP could come in and make some noise, but only if you're picking him up for free. I'm not spending too much fab on something like that. It's a lottery ticket. Don Foo in here wants to know, should I trade Javonte Williams for CD and Ramondre Stevenson? Joey, I saw you grimace a little bit as I mentioned that trade. I'm guessing you're not taking this?
If it was, I don't know. If it was Dynasty, maybe, because I like CD Lamb a lot. But if it's redraft, I don't see how you can take this trade with Dak Prescott on the bench for a while. So yeah, I'm not trading Javonte for those 2 players. That's
12 targets for Javonte Williams in week 1. That can't sustain. He can't keep up a 12 target per game pace. But the fact that they're willing to use him that way shows that maybe the people drafting Javonte early, even if he only gets like the 50% carry share, he could be worth it. He could be that dude in PPR leagues. I'm keeping Javonte. Dave, what about you?
I'm going to take CD and Ramadre here. And I don't want to push against you guys, but I think people are really overreacting to one bad game from CD Lamb. I mean, sure, he might not have the pedigree with some of the other guys, the top five, the big top five receivers, but this guy was getting drafted immediately after Devontae Adams. And let's say Devontae Adams came out and had a stinker of a game and, Derek Carr got hurt. I don't think people would be selling low on Devontae Adams. You paid up for this guy with an early second-round pick to get CeeDee Lamb on your team. It blows my mind that after one bad week, even knowing that Dak Prescott's not going to play for a few weeks, that people are willing to just cut bait and sell low on CeeDee Lamb right now. I think that he's probably going to finish as a top 10 wide receiver this year. I am not selling low, and if I can get him for somebody like Javonte Williams and with Ramadre Stevenson to boot, I'm absolutely taking that.
Okay.
Top 10 wide receiver still. So that was going to be my next question is with this Dak news, how far down does it move him? But it sounds like not too far, maybe from a top 5 guy back to a top 10 guy.
Yeah. And, I do a mailbag show real quickly, and I had so many people asking me yesterday, hey, should I trade CeeDee Lamb? And my answer to every question was no. There's no benefit in trading CeeDee Lamb right now. He's coming off the worst game of his season. Everybody thinks that he is going to be left for dead with Cooper Rush as the quarterback. So his value now could not possibly get lower than it currently is. So there's no reason to trade CeeDee Lamb right now. Just hold him. His value is only going to go up from here.
Shifty in here wanted to ask us PPR pick 2, CEH, Hunt, and Patterson. So one of these is the odd man out. Kluge, who's it going to be? CEH, Hunt, or Patterson?
I think I'm going to go with Hunt as the guy out. And I know that he's coming off a good week 1 with 2 touchdowns, but touchdowns are pretty tough to predict. I want to chase the usage here. CEH got some pretty good usage when the game was still tight. I expect a close game tonight where he should get that. And then, like we said, Patterson, 22 touches or 22 carries week 1. I think you got to keep starting him until we have reason not to.
Yep, it's Hunt is the odd man out for me as well. Joey, what about you?
I think you're in a good position, Shifty. Is that Shifty 4388?
Yeah, I think he prefers 4388. You say all numbers individually.
Okay. 4388.
4388 is his father, right. Joey.
Shift Y 4388. I would go CEH and Patterson. It's very close. They're all kind of bunched up for me.
Nick Ted in here wants to know, would you trade Wilson and Everett? So Jeff Wilson and Gerald Everett for Pitts PPR? Yeah, right now. Yesterday. If that's in your inbox right now, click accept. And if that's something you're thinking about sending, I would not send that. That might be offensive of an offer. But if that's sitting in your inbox, I'm taking it. What about you, Dave?
Yeah, not even thinking twice. I don't know why you're watching the show. You should be on your sleep wrap right now, hitting accept and then coming back to the show.
Yeah.
No, and then you're probably too busy celebrating that you just robbed this man for Pitts to even watch the rest of this, Nick Ted. That would be beautiful right there. Justin wants to know, should I trade Darren Waller and Gainwell for Tyreek Hill? Joey, would you be trading Darren Waller and Kenneth Gainwell for Tyreek Hill?
I liked what I saw at Tyreek Hill last week. If you are set at tight end, I would make this trade. But you have to have somebody good on your bench to plug in where you're letting Darren Waller go. Because if you don't, then I don't like this trade.
Dave,
that's a great point. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, if you're making this trade, you got to realize that, if you're downgrading to, whoever's available on the waiver wire and you're playing Hunter Henry at your tight end, it's not really worth it. And also, we got that contingent value with Gainwell. So I really like stashing guys like this. This is a powerhouse offense. Philadelphia looked awesome last week, and Miles Sanders appears to be the guy right now. But, Kenneth Gainwell is a tweaked ankle away from being a workhorse on one of the most explosive offenses. So
absolutely.
Waller and Gainwell for me.
Waller and Gainwell for me as well. But if you have a guy like Gerald Everett sitting there, it becomes a little bit more interesting, right? Maybe you're able to scoop one of these guys, a Gerald Everett, a Logan Thomas, someone that I think you can believe in the rest of the year. It becomes more tempting, but I'm probably still keeping the Waller Gainwell side. Dame had another question for us, wants to know Devonta Smith versus Minnesota or Michael Carter at Cleveland. Dave, which of these two guys is it going to be for you?
Devonta Smith. Again, I mean, I feel like I'm, keep picking these guys that had duds for week 1s, but that's what so many of the questions are about. Are these people that we paid up for in fantasy drafts that didn't do well week 1, and now we're, kind of freaking out about them a little bit. But Devonta Smith, more routes run than AJ Brown last week, more snaps than AJ Brown. For whatever reason, it didn't translate into fantasy points, and it's frustrating, but I am not willing to give up on Devonta Smith yet.
Joey, what about you? Are you going Devonta Smith or Michael Carter?
This is a tricky question. I'm going to go Devonta Smith, but both of these matchups are pretty tough when you're looking at fantasy points allowed to those positions, especially if you just do it in a very, very small sample size of last week. Two of the best pass and run defenses last week. But I'm still going to go Devonta Smith versus Minnesota. I think this could end up not maybe being a shootout, but definitely being a high scoring game. And I think Devonta Smith's going to factor into that, and it's not going to be like last week for him. No goose eggs.
Brees Hall had 10 targets. Like, Brees Hall might not have had a great game, but he had 10 targets week 1, which is amazing. NFL debut, coming out of the backfield, pulling 10 targets. I mean, that's just incredible usage. So, Michael Carter might have finished with the gaudier stat line and more fantasy points, but I think it's only a matter of time before Brees Hall completely takes over here for New York.
Good point. Nope, Simon's gone, so I have power now that I can like click on the comments. I never had that before. Okay, so CeeDee Lamb or Amon-Ra St. Brown, Dave, who do you like better this week in PPR?
Man, this is tough. I was kind of dogging on Amon-Ra St. Brown all off season, but he looked amazing week 1, and I am eating crow already. I'm not, I've been saying I'm trying not to overreact to week 1 here, but that is one that I think is a okay overreaction to have because he picked up right where he left off in the second half of last season. So I'm going CeeDee Lamb here.
It's Devonta Smith for me. I don't know if we're still on that quite. I'm just
yeah. No, Amon-Ra St. Brown looked great, but I'm still going CeeDee Lamb here.
I think you got to go CeeDee Lamb. Joey, are you going CeeDee as well?
I've got CeeDee a spot, 2 spots higher than Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Alex in here wants to know sit Najee Harris for CEH. So Najee potentially coming off that foot injury was bugging him a little bit. Dave, are you going to bench Najee Harris for CEH this week?
No.
No,
playing Najee, but there is some concern. I'm pretty sure that he logged a full practice today, which leads to believe that he'll play on Sunday. But that's tough when you got to make that decision on a Thursday. You're really crossing your fingers and hoping that Najee's going to be able to suit up.
Hopefully you have a third running back just in case, but it does look like Najee will play. Joey, are you going Najee as well?
I am going Najee. I want to know if there's a way to get CEH in your lineup. It might not be a bad decision to get him in there and either put Najee in your RB2 or your flex if it comes up. I'd like to know who else they have. But yeah, I'm starting Najee, but it's, if it does happen and he doesn't play, it's one of those decisions that's going to kick you in the butt.
We had another Najee question. JXC, what's up? Jay wants to know flex 1 in a PPR league. Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson, T. Higgins, Holy AFC North, Rashad Bateman. Oh, and it just continued, or J-Rob. Which of these guys are you starting in your flex? Yeah, all of a sudden it was like, whoa. And then James Robinson. Joey, I know you're starting James Robinson, but tell us why.
Yeah, no, I won't be starting James Robinson. It's for me, it's between Higgins and Najee. If Higgins clears concussion protocol, it's probably going to be Higgins for me.
And I'm not sure, Joe, I know you were just recording, but he was excused from practice today. His father just passed away. So there's some concerns that he might not play.
I was just recording. I did not know that.
There's no reason to apologize. I'm just saying there's
no. Thank you.
Just a story that broke. So on top of the concussion protocol, they're saying that he might take the week off for a death in the family. So that's tough.
Yeah, it's gonna be Najee. It's gonna be Najee for me.
I'm probably going Najee as well in this matchup. I know he's got the injured foot, but you drafted him early. He was probably your first round draft pick. And if he's going to play, you should plug him in your lineup and get him out there on the field. Ahan had another question for us. Want to know Rex Burkhead or Breece Hall, half PPR. Joey, are you starting Rex Burkhead or Breece Hall?
Breece Hall.
Breece Hall. And Dave, you just mentioned the 10 targets that he had. Are you going Rex Burkhead or 10 target Breece Hall?
Yeah, I'm going Breece Hall for sure.
It's a triple Breece Hall, Ahan. Dave said, would you we already hit this one, didn't we? We did hit that one right there. And then
change my answer.
Alex wants to know Juju or McLaurin in that wide receiver 2 spot this week. Dave, so McLaurin a little bit disappointing week 1. You mentioned the other receivers having better fantasy weeks last week. Are you rolling McLaurin out there in week 2, or are you going with Juju?
Juju.
Finally, we got a Juju answer out of Dave.
We got the first. All you had to do was put one of my biggest fades for the last 3 years up there, and Terry McLaurin, and he finally got me to say Juju. Yeah, I'm worried. I think that McLaurin finishes this year. I mean, he's been like a back end RB2, high end RB or wide receiver 2, high end wide receiver 3 his whole career. I don't know why we keep drafting him in the top 15, thinking that things are going to change. But now with Dots in there and Curtis Samuel looking good, I think this is the year that he finishes. Probably outside of the top 24.
Joey, are you going Juju as well here?
Juju.
Yeah, this is.
I'm excited for tonight.
This is where I change my my answer. This is where my Juju love. I'm just kidding. I'm going Juju Smith-Schuster as well. I've answered him for every other question. I do love me some Terry McLaurin though, but less for fantasy and more just I like Terry McLaurin. I enjoy watching him play. Braden wants to know. Oh, we already hit this one. Logan Thomas or Robert Tonyan. I'm losing it right here. I think we had some double questions in there. We got C in the chat saying half PPR, AJ Dillon, Henderson, or Zeke. So, Dave, so far it's been pretty heavy on Henderson whenever we've gotten Henderson questions from you. Does that love continue here over AJ Dillon and Ezekiel Elliott?
Certainly does. Like I said, I got Darrell Henderson ranked as a back end RB1. Love Dillon, love Zeke, but they are both a few spots behind Henderson for me.
Joey, do you agree with Dave here? Or are you going with one of these other guys?
I'm probably, let's see, 2 spots. I got Dillon 2 spots ahead of Henderson, so I'm going to go Dillon.
And this is going to be Henderson for me as well. Jacob wanted to know if we answer defense questions. We'll do our best right here. Would you say the Bengals defense against the Cowboys with no Dak or the Steelers defense coming off a dominant week, but they have no TJ Watt? Dave, which of these defenses are you rolling out there this week? The Steelers are playing the Patriots. I know we gave the Bengals playing the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm going Bengals. I'm firing up the Bengals in a lot of leagues this week. Coming off a decent week, like you said. And yeah, with Cooper Rush playing there, I'm pretty confident in Cincinnati.
Joey, what about you?
Absolutely.
Triple
Cincinnati.
Bengals. I purify. I have a feeling this is going to be unanimous CD Lamb, but let's just put it out there. CD Lamb or Curtis Samuel?
CD
Lamb.
CD Lamb. And I purify had another question for us. James Conner, AJ Dillon, or Antonio Gibson in the flex. Dave, which of these 3 is it going to be for you?
This is a tough one. Joey, do you want to take this? I got to look at my rankings.
Yeah,
I don't know off the top of my head.
I have Connor 1 spot ahead of Gibson. So I would go Connor.
Yeah, it's James Conner for me as well in this one, but all 3 of these guys are in a relatively similar range.
I was going to say I have them all back to back
Nice.
in the same exact tier. I'm going with James Conner here, but that is not a fun decision to make.
No.
But what a situation to find yourself in with those 3 running backs who are making that call. Some of my leagues, I'm already deciding like,
block.
Yeah, absolutely. And you brought up a great point there, Dave. When I have that extra depth, I know some people love to hold on to that depth. You need so much to go your way to win a fantasy championship anyways, right? You have to avoid injuries. And I know sometimes that depth does it, but my strategy when building teams, I want that glass cannon. I want that thing where if things go right, if the decisions I made hit, then it is going to just be a monster of a team. I'll trade away every last piece of depth I have to upgrade my starting roster. I'm with you there. Unless that's not what you're saying at all, in which case I'm standing alone on this hill that I'll die on.
That is what I'm saying.
Jay want to know Breece Hall or Jeff Wilson rest of season PPR. So Elijah Mitchell expected to be out 8 weeks, but expected to return at some point this season. Joey, are you going Breece Hall or Jeff Wilson?
Yeah, I'm going Breece Hall. I drafted Breece Hall ahead of Elijah Mitchell. And so yeah, I'm taking Breece Hall. I like Jeff Wilson the rest of the season, but once Elijah Mitchell comes back, best case scenario, what, 50-50 share? Best case scenario. So
and I don't think that's likely. Where are you going, Dave?
At first, I was confused by Joey's answer, but I didn't see the ROS at the end. This week, confidently firing up Jeff Wilson Jr., but rest of the season, easily Breece Hall.
Yeah, while Jeff Wilson's the starter, he's likely the better start. But you mentioned it earlier, Dave. In week 1, as a rookie, Breece Hall was already heavily involved in this offense. For a rookie to carve out that role with an established starter, you have to imagine that's just the beginning, and he'll get more and more involved as the season goes on. I'm going that way as well. We got Rock TV in here.
Rock TV.
This is PPR flex. Pick 1, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Rashad Bateman, or Jarvis Landry. While I do like MVS as a potential start, not over a guy like Rashad Bateman. This is Rashad Bateman for me. What about you, Dave?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. A lot of these questions, I feel like maybe the consensus isn't nearly as bullish on Rashad Bateman as the analyst community is, because a lot of these questions that I'm seeing, I got Rashad Bateman 2-3 tiers ahead of the guys that he's being compared to. So this one is very easily Rashad Bateman for me.
Joey, what about you?
Yeah, it's Rashad Bateman for me. I've got Rashad Bateman, a wide receiver 27 this week. So like borderline wide receiver 2. Boy, I'm just calling players by the wrong position tonight. That's all right though. We're having fun.
There's something in the water here making us call all the players the wrong positions. Mr. Scampers wants to know half PPR.
Hi, Scampers.
Juju Smith-Schuster, Jeff, I'm assuming Jeff Wilson, Christian Kirk, or DJ Chark. Are you starting Juju, Jeff, Christian Kirk, or Chark, Dave?
I don't know. I'm just laughing thinking about Jeff Bell suiting up and having to play in an NFL game now. But out of these 4, you got another Juju out of me.
Another Juju, and I'm going Juju out of these as well. Surprise, surprise. Joey, what about you?
Three people say Juju.
Three
Juju.
people
Yeah.
say Juju. Juju.
Mhm.
There is, oh wait, the real slap chop. We got the real slap chop in here. Says, do you think I should trade Claypool for Amari Cooper? So Chase Claypool for Amari Cooper. Which of these guys would you rather have on your roster, Dave?
Cooper, very easily. Yeah, if you can pull that deal off, go get yourself some Cooper.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but what if they're trying to trade like a handful of Clay and a Pool because it's not together? So I mean, we've got to think. No, it's Amari Cooper.
Simon, you got to laugh at Joey's jokes, man. He's telling jokes to a wall out here.
The worst hype man of all time right here. Sorry, I was clicking through questions, making sure we're not missing anything that people put in there, and I missed your funny joke again, Joey. I promise.
And every time I look over at Simon, he's just stonewall after Joey tells a joke.
Simon's trying to get through the comments. Simon is one of he laughs at everything I do. And he's very supportive of me.
It's me and Joey's love language. He tells me jokes, and then I just stare into his eyes. And he can feel it coming from me right there. Axis in here says Nick Chubb, Jalen Waddle, and a first for Jonathan Taylor and a fifth. Which side wins the trade? And this is a 2-keeper PPR league. So just 2 keepers coming out of this draft. So those draft picks have some value to them. Dave, are you going Nick Chubb, Jalen Waddle, and a first, or Jonathan Taylor and a fifth?
Keeper leagues are tough because there's so many different rules that can go into them. There's so many different types of keeper leagues that I feel like we need a little bit more information. Is this a first round rookie pick or is it a first round pick in next year's draft? I'm not sure exactly, but my gut is telling me Jonathan Taylor. Assuming that these are like not startup, but the picks next year. Like I'd assume that the keepers are pulled out of the player pool and you're still just picking from there. I'm going to take Jonathan Taylor in a fifth, I think.
Joey, what about you?
Yeah, because it's 2 keepers, I feel like at least by the end of the season, you'll have somebody to go with Jonathan Taylor that will make this trade. I mean, just not obsolete, but I mean, they're definitely offering you good value, but I'm sticking with Jonathan Taylor because, if you picked up like a George Pickens and he ends up as like the wide receiver 1 for the Steelers this year, this trade's not even a wash anymore. So I know there's that first as well, but yeah, it's Taylor.
Just a good rule of thumb is just never trade away the best players. Like if you've got Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, it would be almost impossible for me to trade these guys away. And that's what makes Dynasty fun because you can add future picks and things like that to really, kind of sweeten the deal. But in redraft, if you've got a guy who is top 2, top 3, top 4 in his position, just hold him. Almost no trade is going to work in your favor.
I mean, last year, how are you going to make your team better trading away Cooper Kupp? There's almost no way that your team can get better trading away Cooper Kupp. I know it's not a question, but come here now, Beach 89. What's up? Welcome. It's a Dave Kluge. OMG. Start barking. Woo! You did it.
Wow.
I love you, Dave. Immediately with the barks right there.
That was a deep bark, too.
It was a good bark.
Yeah, it was good.
Came from the gut.
It's good.
We had a question in here from Greek. Want to know, maybe a stupid question, but can you drop Tyler Bass, the kicker? You can drop any kicker. You can drop any kicker at any given time and then just pick up another one.
Once again, Simon, I think you've read this wrong. I think he's wondering if he can drop the base. And I think, yeah, you can drop the base. There we go.
Got to laugh out of Simon. You did it. We got him.
All I had to do was pay attention to you, Joey, and you made me laugh. It's amazing how that works. Bam says, but for real, how do you guys feel about kickers? Kickers are not a position where you feel like you have to keep them rostered, right?
No. I mean,
Joey?
what I like to do, like around the half season, like halfway through the season, that's when I'll start targeting a kicker. And then, I start looking at schedules and, there's a lot of information at the midway point when you can start kind of, trying to project things. But at this point in the season, I don't think it matters. Every kicker is going to hit waivers eventually.
It's not a kickers don't matter take. It's a which kicker doesn't necessarily affect your team that much take. Like kickers matter in fantasy. You can have good starts and bad starts, but I'm not too worried about dropping a kicker if you need to drop a kicker.
Yeah.
David wants to know Curtis Samuel or DeAndre Carter, half PPR. Dave, which of these 2 guys would you be starting?
So I got to say, I am very bullish on DeAndre Carter this tonight. I mean, if you need a desperation flex play, I really like DeAndre Carter. I think I'm like 40 spots ahead of consensus on DeAndre Carter because he had some really good peripherals last week. But I'm going Curtis Samuel.
Going Curtis Samuel. Joey, what about you?
Yeah, yeah, it's Samuel for me. I don't even have him. I was looking at my rankings and I was doing that to try to buy some time, and I've got Samuel far ahead. of Carter,
Yeah.
but I do like Carter. It's a fun play. If you in the like the 5-man lineups on FanDuel, I've got Carter in my 5-man lineup.
Yeah, I'm going Curtis Samuel
8,500
in 8,500 for Carter.
I believe it was 8,500.
That's
I
higher
could
than
be
I thought
wrong.
it would have been. We got Brooks in here, trade in a standard scoring league, 2 wide receiver, 2 running back, 1 flex. Brooks, first of all, shout out for all the context of your league right there in this question. That makes it so much
Yes.
easier whenever we're answering these. He said, I give Waller and AJ Brown and receive Kittle, Debo, Dobbins, and Penny. Dave, are you doing this trade?
I mean, in a vacuum, it seems like a pretty good trade, but I'd really like to see what both teams look like. I mean, AJ Brown, he was incredible last
Yeah.
week. I mean, you can almost put him up there. We talked about the big 5 receivers. You can almost throw him in that tier. I mean, he looked that good last week. I don't know. I mean, I could understand if you're like really hurting, if you went 0 RB and now you're kind of freaking out because you don't have running backs, why you'd want Dobbins and Penny. But giving up AJ Brown, I don't know. That's tough.
Yeah.
Joey,
And
what
when you
about
look
you?
at it, I kind of see Waller and Kittle as a wash. So it's almost
Yeah.
AJ Brown for Debo, Dobbins, and Penny, which
Yeah.
helps your team if you got the positional needs. But I'm not a big fan of giving up AJ Brown.
Yeah, I have been very adamant about AJ Brown, not as adamant as JL has been this offseason, but if you lost 1 or 2 running backs this week, this is the kind of trade you go out and make. But if you didn't, yeah, I'd rather have AJ Brown and Waller. I would, especially with Kittle already dealing with injuries this season. Yeah.
If Dobbins isn't an upgrade to your RB2, this is I'm not even thinking about this trade. Like you were saying, Joey, like if Dobbins is not going to plug immediately into your starting lineup, I can't make this trade. If he is, then I'll consider it. I'll think about it. But I think I side with you guys. I'm keeping the Waller and AJ Brown side of this trade. We had Teja Stolze in here, wants to know full PPR, Michael Thomas, AJ Dillon, or Darrell Henderson for flex. Dave, which of these 3 players is it going to be?
Do I have to say it? I mean,
Darrell
Henderson better smash this week with how many people I'm telling to start him.
Yeah, last week, Dave, I told about 100 people to start Cole Kmet over Freiermuth, and that did not end very well for me. That was like probably my most answered question week 1 was Kmet over this guy, and it was like, yeah, I'm not scared of the rain.
That's so embarrassing. You're not allowed to be wrong, Simon. I don't know how long you've been doing this, but if you're not right 100% of the time, you actually have to mail your analyst card in. There's a drop box, and you got to send it, and your analyst card is gone now.
Luckily, I'm terrible at remembering to mail things, so it'll probably be a little while before they end up getting it.
He really is.
I'm so bad at JL got his birthday present from 2 years ago this year on his birthday. I finally remember, and it wasn't even on his birthday. It was late. It was late for his birthday this year, but he finally got it.
And Joey, he got him a gallon of milk, so it was really gross when it arrived.
Yeah, it was pretty gross.
I'm actually going to go AJ Dillon here, but I don't hate any of these 3 for your flex.
I want to make sure we hit this one before we end today because this matters for tonight right now. Elver wants to know, do I wait for Kittle or play Everett tonight? Only because the option is Everett. Like if your option was a little bit lower down, I would say wait for Kittle and pick someone up off the waiver wire. But Everett is a smash play for me tonight. I'd play Everett. I would play Everett here and take that safe call. I'm not always the one taking the safe decisions here, but I think there's enough upside with Gerald Everett to make up for that. Dave, where are you going?
So I've got Gerald Everett as my tight end 8 this week. I'm starting him in like 30% of my leagues, but God, something in my gut tells me that we're just going to be getting like just an absolute dud from Gerald Everett. And I'm starting him. Just, I don't know. It seems like, I've been playing fantasy football long enough. It seems like this happens every year where there's like 2 games where it's like Gerald Everett is a smash play this week. And then everybody starts him and he just, pees his pants. So that's kind of what I'm nervous about, but I'm still going with Gerald Everett here.
Joey, what about you? Are you waiting for Kittle or are you plugging in Everett as well?
I'm going with Everett. I think Dave said 8. I have him at 9. So we're right in line on that.
I win.
Right.
Yeah.
Dave wins.
Unless he does have a bad game and then I win.
Everybody who came in here today, thank you so much for bringing your questions. We are wrapping up office hours for week 1, but we will be back here next Thursday and every Thursday at the same time, 6 p.m. Eastern time, here for an hour answering your questions. So make sure to come back next week. And if we did not get to your question, you can join the Front Yard Fantasy Discord. I will throw it in the chat right after this. Throw your fantasy questions in there, and we would be happy to answer anything else that you have for us. Until next week, though, at office hours, we are out of here. Dave, thank you so much for joining us today, my man.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks for having me, as always.
Guys, go and give Dave a follow over on Twitter. He's at Dave Kluge, right there below his face. Truly one of the best in the business and a great friend of all of us over here at Front Yard Fantasy. We'll see you next week. Until then, though, adios, everyone.
Enjoy the game tonight, guys.